Lightning cracked across the twilight sky, illuminating trees older than the stars. Kalim sprinted through tangled roots and briar, his breath sharp, heart hammering with anticipation and fear. Every leaf shimmered with an otherworldly light, as if the forest itself pulsed with a hidden heartbeat. Behind him, distant shouts echoed, the Crimson Order, their crimson tabards glowing like dull embers in the dusk, hot on his heels. Kalim stumbled over a gnarled root. He pressed a trembling hand to his chest, his druidic pendant pulsing with quiet warmth. "I have to make it," he whispered, more to himself than the wind. As Kalim plunged deeper, the forest grew denser. Shadows danced along moss-covered trunks, and ancient whispers tickled his ears. He stopped, startled, as moonlight filtered onto a clearing where the air shimmered. In the center stood a figure, not quite of flesh, a spirit, radiant but faint, cloaked in argent mist. Who are you?" Kalim breathed, barely above a whisper. The spirit gazed at him with ageless eyes. "I am Ardyn, keeper of the ancient grove." Kalim staggered back, awe mixing with fear. You're real. The tales? They weren't lies." Ardyn's voice was both gentle and commanding. "Child of lost lineage, you bear the mark. Why do you come, pursued by darkness?" Kalim's knuckles whitened around his pendant. "My mother spoke of this place. She said I'd find answers, about my family, about me." Ardyn's expression softened. "And so you seek truth, even as danger hunts you. Few possess such courage. But the grove is restless, shadows stir, ones that would see its power twisted." The thud of boots drew closer. Kalim's eyes pleaded. "Will you help me?" Ardyn extended an ethereal hand, mist swirling at his fingertips. "If you would save Aethoria and yourself, you must trust. But the forest's secrets are perilous. Are you ready to face them, Kalim?" A sharp crack, closer now. No time for fear. Kalim swallowed, squared his shoulders, and took Ardyn's hand. The grove shivered. Together they vanished as red-clad pursuers burst into the clearing, too late. Only the wind remained, sighing through the ancient boughs, carrying a warning of darkness to come. The world blurred. Kalim expected cold oblivion, but instead, when he blinked, colors sharpened. Greens deeper, air sweeter, every tree alive with shimmering light. They stood in a secluded heart of the grove, far from where danger prowled. Roots arched high overhead, weaving a living cathedral. Soft luminescence floated upward from tiny flowers, bathing everything in gold. Still gripping Ardyn's translucent hand, Kalim steadied himself. "Where are we?" "The Sanctum of Whispers," Ardyn replied, his eyes sweeping the clearing's edges. "Few mortals have set foot here." Something fluttered overhead, wings of glass. Kalim ducked instinctively. Spirit moths danced through shafts of light, weaving runes in the air. Their gentle glow painted ancient stories across the trunks. "What do they say?" Kalim asked, eyes fixed on the patterns. Ardyn inclined his head. "They recall when Aethoria was young, before men forgot the old ways. Look closer." Kalim stepped forward, watching as one moth traced a symbol, a tree split by shadow. His pulse quickened. "That mark? It's on my pendant." "You are of the Veilborn," Ardyn said softly. "Children chosen to protect balance. When your kin vanished, darkness crept deeper. The Crimson Order seeks to claim what only the Veilborn may guard." Kalim's brow furrowed. "The Order? Why would they care about the grove? It's just an old forest to them." Ardyn knelt, tracing a root with ghostly fingers. "To them, yes, but beneath these roots lies a power ancient as stars. If twisted, it could unravel the land." A distant howl echoed, unnatural, chilling. Both tensed. Kalim shivered. "What was that?" Ardyn's gaze grew sharp. "Not all who enter seek peace. Shadows have found us sooner than I hoped." From the tangled shadows a shape emerged, a creature wreathed in oil-dark mist, yellow eyes gleaming. Kalim's heart hammered in his chest. "Stay behind me," Ardyn urged. "This is a night creep, a minion to the greater darkness. Hold your pendant high, let it remember your lineage." Kalim obeyed, fire leaping within the stone's blue depths. Light spilled forward. The night creep hissed, recoiling as runes blazed across Kalim's skin, a birthright awakening. Ardyn nodded, impressed. "You are stronger than you think." Kalim's fear gave way to grim determination. "We have to keep moving. Tell me what I must do." The forest listened as Ardyn replied, "Find the heartseed before the Crimson Order or the shadows do. Everything depends on it." As they slipped deeper into the glowing woods, the moth's runes trailed behind, whispering of destinies yet fulfilled. The forest grew wilder the deeper they went. Silver streams crisscrossed the moss, giving off faint music. With every step, Kalim felt the grove's eyes upon him, curious, cautious, ancient. He walked in Ardyn's shimmering wake, both alert for danger. Why me? Kalim's voice trembled as he stepped over a root pulsing with emerald light. Why was I chosen when I don't even know who I am? Ardyn paused under a web of tree limbs. You question yourself because you care for more than just your fate. A true guardian protects not out of pride, but out of love. Kalim gritted his teeth. What if love isn't enough? What if I'm not strong like the Veilborn of legend? A twig snapped nearby. Ardyn's gaze grew sharp. Doubt serves only those who pray from the shadows. Believe in the blood and the spirit. Both will guide you. Just then, from behind a curtain of hanging vines, a figure burst forth, human this time, breathless, clad in ragged green. Kalim jerked back, ready to flee, but Ardyn stood unmoving. Please, the newcomer rasped, don't let the order find me. Kalim glared suspiciously. Who are you? The stranger straightened, brushing wild hair from her eyes. Celia, I deserted the Crimson Order. I know what they really seek. Kalim shot Ardyn a questioning look. Ardyn inclined his head. Let her speak. Celia's eyes darted among their faces. They chase a story, the Heartseed. They think with it, they can control all magic. They'll burn the grove to smoke if they must. But you're the one they truly want, Kalim. You bear the Veilborn pendant. He shrank a little as old doubts resurfaced. What do I do? Celia knelt, pressing trembling fingers to the moss. We must reach the hollow oak. Beneath it lies the path to the Heartseed's chamber. I know the way, if you'll trust me. Kalim looked at Ardyn, heart pounding. Can we trust her? Ardyn's spirit flickered. Deserters of shadow often seek the light. The choice, Kalim, is yours. But remember, sometimes trust is the only weapon the darkness cannot steal. Kalim drew a deep breath and extended his hand to Celia. She grasped it firmly. Lead the way, he said, voice almost steady. As they moved between trees older than memory, none of them noticed the crimson flash of a spy's cloak high above, nor the eyes watching from the gloom. For now hope kindled, whispering its promise through the grove's ancient silence. They slipped through shadowed corridors of green, Celia leading with hurried steps. Overhead sunlight dappled down through canopies so thick Kalim could barely see the sky. The roar of the Crimson Order had faded, but every distant bird call could have been a war horn. We're close, Celia whispered, pausing beside a ring of moonlichen. The hollow oak lies just beyond the Wailing Fen. Ardyn hovered, voice a low note. The fen is haunted. Old curses cling there. Kalim hesitated, his legs weak but his resolve quietly strengthening. Does this path frighten the Crimson Order too? Celia snorted. They fear its spirits but hate losing. They'll brave anything for victory, or revenge. He set his jaw. Then so must we. Mist thickened as they entered the fen, shadows slithered, pale hands reaching from stagnant pools. Each step clung to Kalim with cold fingers, sapping hope. Shapes flitted at the edge of sight, ghosts mourning ages past. A wisp circled Kalim's pendant. A child's voice echoed from nowhere. You don't belong. Leave. Bury the truth. He fought the urge to run. Celia gripped his shoulder. Ignore them. Only those with secrets hear the worst. She locked eyes with him, her own haunted. I know. Ardyn passed between ghostly veils untouched. He murmured to the wind, and for a moment the spirits parted. Move swiftly. Their gloom feeds on regret. Celia smiled bitterly. Regret? We're full to the brim. Emerging on the far side, Kalim wiped icy sweat from his brow. Before them rose the hollow oak, vaster than he'd a tree with a trunk wider than a cottage, its heart rotten but glowing with inner gold. There, Celia said. The passage is inside, but the order's close. Listen. Sure enough, a dog's bark rang out. Voices crashed through the brush. Kalim's heart pounded with alarm. We're out of time. Ardyn's form rippled as he urged Kalim forward. You must enter first. Only Veilborn blood opens the way. Kalim raised his pendant, approaching the oak's heart. The gold glow pulsed, then parted, forming a passage choked with roots and runes. Go! Celia urged, pushing him inside just as arrows thudded into the bark above their heads. She dove after, Ardyn swirling in mist behind. The oak's entrance sealed with a quiet thunder, shutting out the crimson tide. Inside, bathed in root light, Kalim's spirit steadied. For the first time, he felt he was more than fugitive or pawn. He was the key. Deeper in the dark, something old and dangerous awaited. The path was clear, forward into fate. The air inside the hollow oak was thick with the pulse of old magic. Roots snaked overhead, bearing carved sigils that glimmered as Kalim passed beneath. Shadows danced on the walls, retelling stories he half remembered from childhood dreams. He led the way now, pendant held high. The walls responded to his presence, runes lighting one by one, guiding their descent. Celia pressed close behind, her eyes darting warily. Ardyn moved like a gust of wind, barely visible but always near. "So," Celia whispered, "what do we do if we find the Heartseed?" Kalim swallowed, nerves raw but his answer clear. "We protect it. We make sure neither the Order nor the Shadows ever wield its power." Ardyn nodded. "True strength lies not in holding power, Kalim, but in choosing how it is used." They reached a cavernous vault carved by nature and time. At its center, a column of living wood spiraled toward the oak's crown. Runes spun around it, tangled with the faintest song, a lullaby mournful and old. Celia stepped forward, gaze fixed on the root-wrapped pedestal. "That's it, isn't it? The Heartseed." Atop the pedestal lay a tiny seed, pulsing with a warm light that somehow filled Kalim's soul. The room felt holy, but as he took a cautious step closer, a rumble shuddered through the vault. Roots writhed, and a new figure emerged from the shadows. A knight in crimson armor, visor drawn low. The echo of the Order's leader. "So the traitor guides the lost lamb straight to the heart," snarled the knight, sword glinting with dark enchantment. "Step aside, Veilborn. The age of druids is finished." Kalim gritted his teeth, defiance in his stance. "If you knew its cost, you'd never dare touch it." The knight advanced, blade raised. Celia drew her knife, trembling but determined. Ardyn's form swirled fiercely, fending off a shadow-black spear hurled from behind. "Kalim, take the seed!" Ardyn bellowed. Kalim rushed to the pedestal, feeling its magic sing through him. The instant his fingers closed around the Heartseed, light exploded from his chest, runes burning across the oak's living heart. Shadows shrieked and retreated. Even the knight faltered, yet the grove trembled, as if warning that an ancient test had just begun, and the true battle was still to come. The vault shuddered as Kalim held the Heartseed aloft, its glow dancing across the ancient carvings. For a heartbeat, everyone in the chamber froze, transfixed by the magic. Then reality snapped back. Crimson steel flashed, shadows clawed the ground, and chaos erupted. The knight lunged, sword catching the Heartseed's light. Ardyn swept forward, mist coiling protectively around Kalim as the grove responded, roots shooting from the floor, deflecting the blade, tangling around the intruder's feet. Celia dodged aside, ducking a wild slash. "You have to get out," she yelled. "Take the Heartseed. I'll hold them as long as I can." Kalim's voice shook with fear and gratitude. "I can't leave you." "You must," Celia shouted, fierce and desperate. Driven by purpose he barely understood, Kalim let instinct guide him, pressing the Heartseed to his chest. Blinding light pulsed, unfolding a narrow path through the vault's roots, a living tunnel leading deeper into the oak's heartwood. "Ardyn, come," Kalim called, but the spirit's shape flickered, barely holding form under the pressure of so much darkness. Ardyn's voice rang in Kalim's mind. "Go, Kalim. My strength is tied to the grove. The Heartseed will guide you to what you must see." Kalim ran, roots rolling aside like welcoming arms. The sound of battle faded behind him as the tunnel narrowed, walls lit by the Heartseed's soft pulse. He emerged into a hidden sanctum, walls studded with crystals, each reflecting his image, now crowned by shifting runes. An altar stood ahead, draped in vines and emblazoned with the symbols of the Veilborn. Suddenly the Heartseed pulsed with urgent light, projecting visions into his mind. Images of his mother, cloaked and chanting, a circle of druids binding shadows beneath these very roots, tiny Kalim in her arms, marked for fate. The prophecy was his, but also a burden passed from parent to child across generations. "You are the last shield," the visions whispered. "Victory is not survival, it is sacrifice." Tears stung Kalim's eyes. He straightened as the truth settled in his bones. The grove needed more than a guardian. It needed a champion willing to do what others could not. He turned, knowing he couldn't face what came next alone. Yet now, even surrounded by ancient power, Kalim felt perhaps for the first time that he could be what the legends demanded. Kalim stood in the sanctum, the Heartseed's light cradled in his palm, its warmth steady. The visions still echoed, his mother's sorrowful chant, druids forging a forgotten oath, the unbroken line of Veilborn. He wiped his tears, spine straightening with newfound resolve. Suddenly, the walls throbbed, an ominous vibration. A jagged crack split the roots behind him. Ardyn flowed from the rent, flickering and pale, struggling against encroaching shadow. He could barely keep shape now. Ardyn! The guardian spirit's voice was ragged. The Order has breached the Oak's defenses. Celia fights, but their dark mage Malrek brings corruption. The shadows feed on doubt and division. You must do what we could not. Kalim's grip on the heartseed tightened. But how? Ardyn shook his head, urgency cutting through his fading form. You are the Veilborn. The Grove responds to you. Your will, your heart, your sacrifice. Trust yourself. Heavy footsteps thundered closer. Celia burst into the chamber, blood streaking her brow. She gasped as Malrek followed, tall, shrouded in crimson and black, magic swirling at his fingertips. So the boy guardian cowers among roots, Malrek sneered. His shadow magic lashed out, withering nearby vines. Hand it over, Kalim. Your sacrifice. Your kindred line ends here. Kalim's knees nearly buckled, yet he stepped forward. I understand now. The heartseed isn't to be used. It's to be given, nurtured. The Grove's strength comes from unity, not ownership. Malrek's eyes narrowed. You delude yourself. Power must be wielded, not wasted. Celia, panting, drew her blade. You'll have to go through us. Ardyn spread his arms, light splintering through the gloom. Let the Grove decide. Kalim planted the heartseed at the altar, channeling hope and fear, love and memory into his words. Roots trembled, curling toward his toes. The Grove itself seemed to breathe, testing the hearts before it. A wave of darkness surged from Malrek, attacking the seed, Kalim, and the very foundation of the oak. Pain lanced through Kalim's chest, but he stood his ground. Celia pressed close, her hand gripping his arm. Kalim's voice rang out, clear and strong. I am Veilborn by fate and by choice. To guard, to trust, to unite, this is my legacy. The heartseed resounded with radiant energy, unleashing a brilliant shockwave of hope and ancient magic, pushing back Malrek's evil, but not destroying it. The outcome was uncertain. The final test loomed near. But for one shining moment, the heart of the Grove was filled with light, and the defiant promise that neither Kalim nor Aethoria would fall easily. A stunned silence filled the sanctum, the shockwave fading into a shimmering haze. Malrek staggered, cloak smoldering where the heartseed's light had touched him. His sneer returned twisted and desperate. Behind him, the walls of the hollow oak groaned. Shadow and light now locked in a ferocious tug of war. Celia clung to Kalim's shoulder. It's working. I can feel the magic shifting. Malrek snarled, raising his staff high. Dark tendrils coiled from his fingertips, writhing toward the altar. Ardyn swooped between them and Kalim, his form almost translucent now. Kalim, your faith feeds the Grove. Doubt weakens it. Kalim felt his spirit waver under Malrek's barrage. Doubts gnawed at him, his youth, his lost family, the weight of legend. The heartseed flickered perilously. He squeezed Celia's hand, drawing strength. I'm scared, but I won't give in. If the Grove falls, it falls with me standing. Ardyn's eyes softened. That is enough. Remember, trust is the root. Let her in. Kalim closed his eyes. He remembered every stumble, every lesson from Ardyn, every risk Celia took in standing beside him. He directed his thoughts not at the Grove, but at Celia herself. Celia, he whispered, I trust you. She gasped as the light from the heartseed leapt between them, entwining them in a dazzling aura. For the first time, a second pendant, long hidden under Celia's tunic, shimmered with ancient runes. Roots and runes curled up from the ground, embracing them both. Malrek howled. His shadow magic recoiled, unable to touch them. The hollow oak shook. Cracks ran through the altar as if the Grove itself was being remade. To Veilborn? No! Malrek screamed, panic finally overtaking arrogance. You will not deny me this power. The walls trembled, the sanctum flooded with whirlwinds of color. Kalim and Celia stood together, heartseed blazing. At last, Ardyn's silhouette shone brighter, his strength returning. You are not alone, Kalim, Ardyn declared, voice ringing clear. The Veilborn were never meant to stand apart. Join your hearts. The Grove's destiny is chosen by more than one. Kalim realized the truth. Aethoria's hope was never his burden alone. Shoulder to shoulder with Celia, he let go of isolation and opened himself fully to her trust, her courage, her pain, creating a web of magic even Malrek's darkness could not devour. But as the walls cracked wider and debris rained down, Kalim sensed the struggle was far from over. The grove would either rise renewed or be lost forever if they failed the final, coming trial. The chamber became a battleground of ancient magic and shattering wood. Malrek, cornered and furious, drove his staff into the ground, splitting the roots. Toxic shadow poured forth, creeping, hungering, desperate to choke out the grove's radiant life. Kalim and Celia locked eyes, drawing strength from one another as runes shimmered along their skin. The heartseed, now beaming between their clasped hands, flared with power every time they focused together, growing warmer with every beat of trust and hope. Ardyn hovered overhead, voice booming like a gale. The grove obeys only those who act as one. Complete the rite. The grove's fate, and all of Aethoria, depends on it. Malrek roared, slashing his staff through the air. Shadows lashed out, throwing Celia backward. She hit the splintered wall, breath driven from her lungs. Kalim faltered, pain shooting through his arm. "You'll lose everything, boy." Malrek spat, his voice poisonous. "You can't hold the grove alone." Kalim hesitated, a heartbeat of doubt. But then Celia struggled back to her feet, meeting his gaze. "We do this together, Kalim." He took her hand, pulling her to the altar. The grove surged with energy as the runes on her pendant flared to life, joining with his. Vines wrapped around their arms, binding them. Light and shadow painted patterns around them as they began the rite. An ancient chant neither had ever learned, yet spoke as if plucked from the marrow of their bones. Their voices blended, calling the names of Veilborn past, promising to nurture and to protect, even at the cost of their own lives. The heartseed's glow built to a towering pillar, splitting the roof to reveal the starlit sky. Malrek screamed as the shadow recoiled, unable to cross the halo of light. But even in retreat, Malrek seized a final chance. He hurled his staff, now twisted with shadow magic, directly toward the heartseed, aiming to shatter the rite before it completed. Celia moved to shield the heartseed, taking the brunt of the attack. She collapsed, pain etched across her face, but her grip on Kalim's hand never loosened. Kalim, terror flooding him, knelt at her side. "Celia! No, stay with me!" Through clenched teeth, Celia whispered, "Finish, the rite." Above, Ardyn's form rippled urgently, the grove itself trembling on the brink. Kalim's choice was clear and terrible, a chance to save the grove and Aethoria, but only if he risked losing Celia forever. High above, the heartseed flickered, its light withdrawing, as if waiting for Kalim's final leap of trust and sacrifice. As night air swept in through the shattered oak, Kalim faced the most pivotal moment of all, a choice that would reshape his destiny and the fate of the ancient grove. The grove's silence was deafening but alive with anticipation, every root and leaf trembling in the bruised moonlight. Kalim knelt at Celia's side, the fading light of the heartseed catching the tear tracks on his face. Her hand was icy yet gripped his with a resolve that would not break. Around them, ruin and beauty danced, the grove teetering between rebirth and oblivion. Ardyn hovered desperately, his form splitting with every surge of instability. "Kalim! The rite must complete. Only a sacrifice freely given can restore the balance." Kalim bowed his head, heart torn. He could not let go of Celia. She was the friend, the companion, the hope he'd never thought he could have. But she met his gaze, fierce despite her pain. "Don't fail Aethoria for me," she choked. "The grove needs you. It needs us." At her words, an understanding carved itself into Kalim's soul. The prophecy, the whispers, the legend, it was all about coming together, about giving, even when nothing was left to give. That was the meaning of the rite, the power the order and darkness could never touch. Kalim forced his voice steady as he called out, "I accept the rite, but I refuse to let this sacrifice destroy love or hope. Let our unity be the seed for new life in the grove. Let loss become the heartseed's strength, not its weakness." The heartseed erupted with golden gradients encircling Kalim and Celia. The vines unwound, not to bind, but to embrace. All around the oak healed, splinters drawing together, runes rediscovering their glow, the sanctum filling with ancient song. Malrek's last shadow, still writhing, wailed as it was drawn into the roots. Cleansed, transformed, made harmless by the same magic he craved. The staff crumbled into petals and dust. Celia gasped as, instead of dying, her wounds closed, a flowering in place of agony. She glowed with the same life as the grove. "Kalim, it's working! The grove chose us, both of us." Ardyn's eyes brimmed with relief and pride. "The prophecy is fulfilled. You forged a new path, Veilborn. Not sacrifice of self, but of isolation. You saved each other to save us all. Light and music poured through the hollow oak, carrying the message to the trees beyond. The order, scattered and broken, fled before the grove's storm of color and peace. Above, starlight filtered through whole branches, Aethoria alive with renewal. Kalim helped Celia to her feet. They stood in the heart of a world changed, the heartseed now nestled between them, a living promise. "What now?" Celia asked quietly, hope trembling in her voice. Kalim smiled, strength and gentleness meeting in his eyes. "We remember, we protect, and we teach others how to let hope take root again." As dawn broke, the whispers of the ancient grove became a song of unity carried on every breeze, a legacy not of one druid, but of two, and of all who would choose trust over fear ever after.